everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's webinar, Turning Technology into a Competitive Advantage for Greenhouse Growers. I wanted to kick things off and introduce myself. My name is Rain Carpenter, and I am on the marketing team here at Velosio. You are currently muted, and the session is being recorded, but that will be sent to you following today's session. With you being muted, we would love for this to be as interactive as possible. So as our presenters are going through different information, please submit questions in the question pane, as we have saved some time for that at the end. With that being said, I'm going to kick it off to our presenters, Todd Waterman and Melissa Herbst.
Hello.
Greeting. Thanks, Rain. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for being here. So my name is Melissa Herbst. I'm an industry account executive here at Velosio. I've had the distinct pleasure of working with growers exclusively for the past 5 years. So glad to be talking to all of you today about turning technology into a competitive advantage. Joined here with Todd Waterman, who I've also had the great pleasure of working with for the past 5 years.
I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Todd's our industry pre-sales solution engineer. So Todd, you want to?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Todd Waterman. So I spent about 18 years in the industry working for a liner producer out here in California, and got the luck to meet Melissa a few years ago, and we've been working together for about 6 years now in the industry, and very excited to show you what we have to offer today.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right. I'm going to flip my camera off so we can
Sounds good.
get on with the show.
Okay, so ultimately what we're doing today is we want to discuss how growers can turn technology into a competitive advantage. We're going to talk about attracting a new generation of employees. We're going to talk about safeguarding against tribal knowledge. That seems to have been coming up a lot with some prospects recently. We've got some conversations around managing operations more efficiently and also making profitable decisions. So for each of these sections, we're going to show you some tools and tricks of the trade, and we hope you find this time worth your while. So thanks for being here. So let's go ahead and get started here. I think first off, our first topic is really working with a new generation of employees. We seem to have a number of companies and prospects that we've been talking to are really interested in how do I attract and retain younger employees. They're coming to us, they're used to working with technology, and we show them some of our systems that look like they were built in the 70s. They're a little bit daunted, not to mention our next topic, which is, really we're running this in spreadsheets and with tribal knowledge. But, certainly the younger employees are used to working with technology and tools. So let's show you some tools that we have to help them come up to speed and collaborate.
All right. So tools for collaboration and information. Like Melissa said, it's I come from the industry, so we used to have 3 different spreadsheets, an access database, and then an old production system that we had to train a new customer service rep how to really swim through all those weeds and figure out what we had available and what to do. It was really difficult to train employees, and so society and technology has come so far since that was 20 something years ago that I'm talking about. And really I think about my kids and that they grew up using Excel and Word and all that, from the time they could talk practically and all through school and everything. So all these new generation come in really used to software and that. So I think it's even harder to retain some of this younger generation when we have really archaic, really old, troublesome software. So enter Office 365, right? Who doesn't use Microsoft Office? But the beauty is that Microsoft Office is actually integrated with Business Central, which is what SilverLeaf is built on top of. And so these are a few of the examples of Microsoft Office tools that are integrated with Business Central. So we got Microsoft Teams. I think some people use Zoom. Teams is big for us. I couldn't live without it. I find most of our customers are using it. The COVID pandemic really got everybody to start using cameras and that. And Teams is everything from storing information in Teams to chat, in between each other, video calls, video meetings, stuff like that. Everybody knows what Excel is. Outlook, right? We're using that for email. Power BI, there's a whole piece. I'll show you a little bit about Power BI, but that's for creating reports and dashboards and such. Power Automate is for creating workflows. Lots of examples of how we can use that. And of course, Microsoft Word. So all of these programs on the screen, are accessible and from inside Business Central, or Business Central is accessible from the program outside of Business Central, and I'll show you a couple examples of that. So can't say enough about this, because look, everybody's already using these tools, and so what Microsoft is doing is making these more available and really trying to make there no space in between the business system and these office tools. So first, let's just talk about Teams. So this is a sales order inside of Business Central, and you can see I actually highlighted here at the top. Hold on just a second. I'm actually going to get my little laser pointer here. So I got right up here, when you click on this arrow, and this is, look at, I'm showing you this as an example from a sales order, but this is everywhere in the system, okay? So it doesn't matter if you want to send someone a link to a journal entry or a vendor sales order, a production order of that, all over the place. You'll see this little arrow. I click on it and you can see share to Teams. So let's say I think about where I came from, and what we used to do in customer service was, the availability was in spreadsheets, right? So it wasn't in the same system that we put it in the orders. So even though we had a sheet with the inventory on it, nobody believed it, right? I'm sure some of you can really relate to that. So they would print up the order and then highlight most of the items that they had questions on, whether they could really take the order or not, even though the inventory said there was inventory, right? And then they would go print it up, highlight with a yellow highlighter, go put it in a box outside the production manager's office. And at some point during the day, she would read through this stack of papers, go through and mark which ones are okay to put in the order, and then return them. Could be the next day, right? 2 days later. And what if my competitor could answer that question of the customer and take that order right then, right? Because they had updated date information. So using that as an example, if I did have a question about that, because obviously, there's going to be problems with inventory, but right from in the system, I can say share to Teams here, and then it's going to come up here, and I'm going to send it to my partner, Melissa, who in this case is the person I want to ask about this. So I didn't write any message or anything, but look at it, sends her a link to this sales order, right? So as soon as I send it, this is actually in Teams where she would receive it. And so she's able to just click details, and boom, the order comes up right inside of Teams. So just even in my example of them printing up, highlighting, walking out to the production manager's office to put that paper in a box, look at how much time that saved, just being able to send a link right to them and say, hey, is there any issue with this, right? Moving on to Excel. So this is a part of SilverLeaf, which is we have that built on top of Business Central for the horticulture industry. And this is one of the nifty little tools that we have provided. It's called Manage Multiple Orders. So think of this scenario. We have to, think of how many times there's NAs, right? You take an order months before you're going to ship it, and then maybe it got virus, you had other inventory issues or something, and you're going to have to figure out who's all the customers that ordered that item, right? How many do we have on? Then you got to go through the whole process of figuring out who are we going to give the inventory that we do have to, right? So we built a tool for that. So what I did here is each one of these rows here is a sales order, and I've selected all of them. And then I can click on Manage Multiple Orders. And what that does is pulls up every row here is a line off of one of those sales orders. So I'm actually able to look at the sales lines from all the orders at once and edit any field here. So I could go through here and edit anything or do a search for the item that we need to sub. That way you can quickly find all of those items and then enter the substitution, right? But even better, I'm going to use the integration with Excel, and you can click on Edit in Excel. Now this is, again, I'm showing you this example in this tool, but Edit in Excel is all over the place in the system, whether you have to do massive price updates, update new varieties, what have you, you can edit in Excel. And what that does is it actually connects to Business Central, pulls all the information into here, and then I'm able to use all of the tools of Excel, like autofill and sorting and all of these things inside of here. And when I'm done, all I got to do is click the publish button here, and it writes that back to Business Central. Now, with that said, it's not going to just take any garbage, right? If I updated a location code here, for example, that wasn't really a location in the system, it's going to error out, so it won't let you just do anything. But I think you can imagine how efficient it is to come inside here with every sales line from every order and really sort it and crunch on it however you want, make your changes and publish it back to the system. All right, one more, Outlook. So, even think back to my example for Teams. Maybe your customer has questions about an order, or maybe you want to email someone else. Maybe it's a salesperson or something about an order that's out on the road, right? Well, Outlook's fully integrated with Business Central as well. So just for an example, here is an email that I sent myself, but I'm pretending I'm a customer. And it says, please add 10 more hydrangea limelight to order. And I gave the order number, right? Any grade avail, right? I don't care if it's bud only or full color. So because of the fact that Outlook is integrated with Business Central, it knows that that's an order number, and look, and it shows it as a link. So I'm able to actually press the link and look at the order comes up right in Outlook, just like it did in Teams. And I'll go ahead and pop it out. And so you can see this is from inside Outlook. I'm not in Business Central, so I could be on the moon, basically, as long as I had an internet connection. And from inside Outlook, I can actually go in and add those 10 hydrangea limelight, or really do anything else. You have full access to, you could create new orders, create new invoices, create POs, all of that from inside of Outlook. So you can imagine if you're a salesman that's traveling around, you don't have to remote desktop into the system and be looking things up and all that stuff. All you need is an internet connection. All right, one last thing about Outlook. For those of you who are maybe thinking about getting into customer relations management, Business Central does have a great introduction to that comes with it, and part of that is contact management. So as I'm getting these emails, this could, like for this example, I got it from Melanie here that is telling me about this graphical scheduler, and I want to add Melanie to contacts, not my contacts, to the Business Central contacts. Think of how many salespeople leave a company and leave with all their contacts, and you don't have any of them. Well, this way you can keep a contact list, and it doesn't mean that they're a customer even. They can be a contact, you can turn them into customers and that, but you're able to add contacts in that to the Business Central right from inside Outlook. So there you go. There's a little bit about some of the Office 365 integrations into Business Central.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. So I think the next topic we want to touch on is safeguarding against tribal knowledge. So we certainly hear this a ton. We're talking to a client up in Canada, and he was like, I just brought somebody on board and they're not from the industry. And, how do I tell them that just because you can see the plants on the floor doesn't mean that they're available to sell?
Yeah, right.
So we've got some tools really to help protect the business relating to, transitioning from tribal knowledge into systems.
Yep. Who doesn't have tribal knowledge? I think that is such a common thing, and I always revert back to all my experience. And the computer didn't know the inventory. Sandra did, right? Everybody's got a Sandra, I'm sure, that pretty much knows where everything on the property is, and how long it's been there or how much we have available. And she's doing her best to keep the inventory updated, which in our setup was impossible. And but if Sandra was sick, we had a big problem, right? Like I said, I think everybody has an example of a Sandra in some aspect of their company. And we always talk about that hit by a bus thing. What if that person gets hit by a bus? What are you going to do? And usually get a look of deer in the headlights, right? So one of the things that a business system like Business Central can really help with all of that, just a matter of getting all that information, trying to get all the spreadsheets and everything all over the place in the company, all housed in one place. And just as an example, this is the production manager role center right here. So this is, a production manager would log in here. They have all access to all of their production orders, right? Demand forecasts. Think of all the spreadsheets that you have of what you're planning to grow next year or that, right? And it's somebody's spreadsheet that's in somebody's documents. So you're going to have an availability meeting or figure out what you're going to grow and that person's not there and you guys are dead in the water, right? Well, this is a place to where everybody can access it. It's all kept in one place. So I'm going to give you one example, right, of how a system like this, you know, how much even just what is stored in the item in Business Central can help with that tribal knowledge. So let's look at my items. First of all, I love how we can show items as pictures, right? We get a lot of temp employees or, you know, new customer service reps, and, you know, obviously that they don't come from the industry necessarily. So this is a great way for them to know what the plants look like and all of that. So you can actually view it, you know, in columns and rows, but also switch to this picture view. So I'm going to take a look at this Petunia Easy Wave Red right here. So this is my item. So look at all the different information we got in here. Basic information that it's an annual and that we got attributes, right? The color, exposure, spread, all of these things you create. So whatever attributes you want to take down about the plant, you know, you put in here. So a lot of times this is in marketing spreadsheets or it could be on your website and stuff like that. We're able to bring this information together. I'm going to click on this attachments tab here. You can see I don't have any documents attached, but I could attach any documents or material on this item. You can see I have a link that goes right to a website with the cultural information, right? I can take different notes. I got to avoid wet foliage going into the night, keep well fed for best performance, stuff like that, right? So not only do I have the item and basic information about it, I can actually store others' links and other information. Again, about those new employees, or maybe they don't know this information. So if they were on the phone with a customer, they can go to this item and find all this information out without hunting across the internet or anything. So, and I always got a call out right here. We are fully integrated with Bartender. So you have control over what's going to, you know, actually be put on the labels and where you want to print them from. So that is a huge plus to SilverLeaf. Okay. Now I'm going to go into my bill of materials here and look at the structure of this item. So check this out. This is pretty impressive. So this is the structure of this item, or, you know, if you walked off the street and came in here and knew nothing about how to grow this product, it pretty much tells you right here. Now, it's actually pulling all this information from the production setup from this item, but you can see starting at the top, Petunia Easy Wave Red 4-inch. That's what I'm growing. And the reason it's bold is because it's a production order. We're actually going to grow that, but we have to grow a plug first. So we got a plug Petunia Easy Wave Red that we have to grow. And look at this, has all of the inputs that you need and even has the grow times. So I need a Easy Wave Red Petunia seeds. I need a 288 cell to put it in, right? And then it's going to go in the germ chamber for 5 days. And then it's going to go to a grow one phase for 21 days. Now we know at different times of the year you'll have different grow times, so this is just kind of a snapshot here. But also we can post our overhead labor, and then we're going to finish it. Then we need a 4-inch black pot. We need a tag, right? That's a purchase. Notice how we got purchase items. We have grown items. We're going to do a transplant phase for 28 days, spacing for 14. We're also going to post some overhead labor, and then the finished phase is really just outputting to inventory. But just taking an item inside the system is, for an example, look at all the information and tribal knowledge that was housed just really in this one item. So that's a really good example for that. All right, moving on.
Awesome. So the next area we wanted to touch on is managing supply and demand. I feel like every client and prospective client we talk to is really trying to get their arms around what's available, what's coming available, and where does it need to go. And we talked to a lot of growers who really are used to managing, you know, inventory is what's ready to sell today, but we really want to expand that to say what's going to be ready and who needs it in the future. So we're going to go through some tools to help you better manage supply and demand.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this is our demand forecast, we call it. again, I can't show you every tool that's going to help you with supply and demand. So what I'm trying to do is just kind of show you some SilverLeaf highlights. But excuse me. So the demand forecast is just like what it says. This is really, think about your spreadsheet where you're planning by item, by week. You can see I'm by week here, and this is my finished 23 demand forecast. So I've already looked at my reports, figured out what I'm going to grow. And you can see I fudged all these numbers. That's why they're all the same. It doesn't look that realistic, but had to have something in there. So, but with each line, each row is an item. I'm doing it by this east location. And so you can have as many demand forecasts as you want. And what we do is we actually run a planning engine against this. And so the beauty is that all of these forecasts can be copied. You can look at ones from last year, compare them, or copy last year's and update numbers, things like that. But the beauty is that none of this is stored in spreadsheets and different employees directories, right? So it's all in one place. So then we can go look back at, well, what did we plan, right? What did we actually do? All the information is in here for reporting, which we're going to get to towards the end. So once we come up with our demand forecast, we use this planning worksheet, they call it. Beauty of this is look at its MPS, which is actually pretty much the production orders, and MRP is material requirements planning. So that's more the purchases, but look at the same tool is going to scan through this year, 1/1/23 to 12/31, look for all types of supply and demand. So it's going to look at really what you have already, maybe, you know, because a supply could be a purchase order, could be a production order, you know, demand's a sales order, or it could be assemblies for other items, things like that. But so this tool looks through all that and basically helps you create all of your production orders and your purchase orders. Then the big question is, what do I have available to sell? That's a big one. So here's another shot of a sales order here. So obviously it's very, very beneficial to have the production inside the same system, because then we don't have that lag between when was the production spreadsheet updated, and as soon as you put in an order, it's not deducting from that spreadsheet, so it's wrong, right? Immediately. Well, we have the glory of having it best of both worlds, because we have all of our production and sales in the same system. But SilverLeaf has a tool called Availability Matrix. Now this is extremely powerful, because this is, again, I'm looking at a category of annuals, but this Availability Matrix looks at every kind of item, meaning if it's a purchase item, could be an input, could be, you know, ceramic pots for something. And so you can use demand forecasts and the planning and all that for things you want to purchase or things you want to grow. Okay, so in the same availability matrix covers all of that. So again, I'm looking at it by week, and you can see here, let's go ahead and zoom in on our Petunia Easy Wave red here. So right away, I can see we have a negative number. I mean, that's really, I spent half my life looking for negative numbers. It seemed production, all they were doing is trying to find where we were oversold and trying to figure out why, you know, and what to do about it. So what we've really done is not only shown you the availability here, but I can actually click on any of these numbers to figure out how is it coming up with negative 90. So if I drill into that number, you can see here starting at the top, it says item ledger entry. What that means is that was like a positive or adjustment. That's actually me just shoving inventory in here. It's a demo system. But so that's what that means. So there was 3,910 available. And then if you see this sales line, there's a sales, or at least you can drill into these links here or these numbers to see exactly what sales orders behind it. But anyway, we got sales for 6,000. So you can see we bought some in. So we had a purchase line. That's more supply, right? So, but we're still short 91. So maybe if this purchase order didn't ship yet or something, we could increase it. But you can actually see, why are we negative 90? But then I can look up here and look at there's 3,910 available week 13. Let's drill into that. So this has got more. Look at, we got an assembly line, which is like an assortment or a kit or something we're going to assemble. So this Easy Wave Petunia Red is part of that. So it's saying 250 this week are going to assemblies. We see that item ledger entry still from where I shoved in 3910. but we got 7,500 of sales. Look at, we got a production order, so that means we're growing this, and that's supposed to be finished for 5,000, and we did purchase some too. So you can see how valuable this is. You know, not only in the system I used to use or lack thereof, we would see the negative, but we had to run all sorts of other different reports and look through orders and everything and try to figure out why is that negative, right? Well, in our system, you can just drill into it and see. And then if I did drill into this 7,500 sales line, it will show you the two orders. And I can actually even click show document and browse to these. So that works the same. If I would have drilled into the purchasing or what have you, it'll show you each individual purchase order of that. Full access to information. All right, let's move on.
Awesome. So the next area you want to talk about, I think there's a lot of economy of scale that we can bring to the table for helping clients manage fulfillment. What we're going to talk about today is really managing loads, and we'll jump into what is a load and what are the tools to help organize more effectively how we're shipping and delivering our material.
All right, thank you. Okay, so part of our SilverLeaf tool set here in Business Central is load management. And so we can use load, we can use load management in a lot of ways, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a truckload, right? Really what the load management is doing is you're going to be able to pull in multiple sales orders or transfer orders, what have you, and be able to bring them in all together to do things like create picks, create your paperwork, things like that. So it could be customer pickups, right? It could be any kind of ship via, but you're going to pull all the customer pickups into one load. It could be all your FedEx orders, you know, or you could have trucks. So in my example, you know, I am using trucks, but just know that this load management can be used for really any kind of ship via. And I only have one load here, but you can see it's for, the description is going east. You can see with our load statistics over here, you can see stuff without even going inside the load and see the departure date, counted deliveries, you know, and the quantity and stuff. 31 racks. We have a full rack optimization system inside of SilverLeaf BC here. And you can even see the different sales orders that are assigned to this load just from the outside. And let's go ahead and look inside the load. So once you just come in, set up your basic information, you know, who the driver is. If you want to assign a salesperson, maybe it's their territory, you know, Southeast. And shipping methods, delivery with our own logistics, right? Like I said, this could be FedEx, could be your own trucks, broker trucks, what have you. And then I'm going to click on this get delivery requests. Now you're able to sort inside of here. This is really looking for any sales order that is in release status, which means, you know, it's locked and ready to go. And you can see I'm sorting by this ship date that's already passed, but it is a demo. And you can see I got all the same territory. It even tells me how many racks per order this is, which is really nice. But once you say okay, it's going to bring in all of the sales orders, and you can see it's going to give you a delivery sequence. It's going to reverse it for the load sequence. But once you have the orders in here, look at what we can do. We can create the racking. So I can create shipment racks. You know, this is full on rack optimization, which knows the heights of the plants, how many fit on a layer and all that. So it's not just about static shelves on a rack. This is really meant to have you optimize so you can really use the racking to print reports of the racks that need to be built, you know, next week, what have you. You can also show the route on a map. We're integrated with Google Maps, so you can be able to look at what your route is and get directions and all that, right? We can create our warehouse shipments and picks, all from here, bill of lading. And then once you're done, you're going to post your loads. And then so it will take all of the sales orders that are in the load and mark them all as shipped. So it's really kind of a one-stop shop workspace to really come in, pull in the orders that are shipped and do everything from printing paperwork to showing on a map, signing drivers, all that information all in one place. So there's a little bit about our load management.
Nice, thanks, Todd. So here we are, we're rolling into the last section of our presentation and discussion today. And for the last section, we really wanted to focus on what are some of the tools that we have to help our growers make more profitable decisions. And we're going to divide this into really two parts. One are tools to help growers get a better handle of their costs so they can ultimately set proper pricing. And then what the ultimate is access to information. How are we getting visibility to sales data, other profitability data in the system to help you get the information that you need as quickly as possible so you and your team can make the decisions that you need to make.
Yep, and I save this for the end because I think some of this is, you reap the rewards of once you've done all the other things we've talked about, once you do have one system of record. And, as you all know, it's garbage in, garbage out. This isn't some magic system that's going to put all the information in there and spit out the truth for you, right? So you have to, it is does take upkeep, and you got to work on your processes and everything to really utilize this tool. Because, right, if the information is incorrect, then your reports are incorrect. So, we don't want to make any misconceptions there. It does take work. But once you are there, it's like, what are my costs, right? This is probably the toughest issue in the industry, at least where I come from. We didn't really truly know our cost. We kind of did. And I would say there's a lot of nurseries that don't. And if they do, it's in spreadsheets and things. It's not really something that a system is helping them with. So if we go back to our EasyWave Red example, you can see right here the costing method I'm using here for this is FIFO. So the system has LIFO, FIFO, standard, average. I would say most probably do FIFO. There is a few standard, but we can handle any of them. And if we go and remember when we looked at the structure of this item, well, this is actually the cost shares we talk about. And this is that same thing like the structure that shows the production order here that we're going to grow and the plug production order, right? And it has all that same information of the structure, but this is actually showing the cost. So we have a rolled up material cost. We have a rolled up capacity cost. Capacity cost has to do with these work centers where we're like transplanting, spacing, doing the growing. And then we got capacity overhead if we put some of that in there. Anyway, we're getting down to this total cost where I laugh at this because my 1 4-inch cost me $12.83 to grow it. Hopefully that's not your cost. This is a golden petunia. But anyway, you get it. This is this is a good example of if your information isn't good, like mine is not, right? I'm not getting the proper cost here, but you can see if you work on these things, once you get electricity and water and fertilizer, it's complicated, right? So like I said, this isn't going to actually do the work for you, but this is built up to really track everything that goes into this to roll up to one cost. Okay, so that's really important. We also have a SilverLeaf tool that we've added because it's so hard. You got so many different production orders, and the system is capable for, posting the overhead and that as you perform the duties of the production order, right? Or add the tasks, I should say. But that is very hard to keep up on. So we heard from a lot of customers of, boy, I sure wish I could post like overhead labor, kind of by the size of the plant and just spread it over all the production orders for that item. So that's what we did. So we actually created something, it's like overhead by pot size. So I was able to create these groups like a 4-inch annual, I'm saying is about 65%, or sorry, 65 cents per pot. I don't even know if that's realistic or not. But what that means is while this product is in process, it costs me, that's about how much labor it costs by this pot size. So what I can do is pull in all of the lines from all of the different production orders and then create my overhead labor. And what it's going to do is look for what overhead size group it's part of and then post that number to this so you can mass update your overhead and labor. So that's one thing. So now if you know your costs, right? Now it comes to the basic, or the holy grail, I would say, of once you have been in a system like this for a few years, right? You got to build up your data, you got to make sure it's correct, but then you reap the rewards of the access to the information. And so this is just a snapshot of the Business Manager Role Center inside of Business Central and some of the things it has on there. Just a basic donut little graph here showing my top 5 customers. Nothing too spectacular, but nice. I got favorite accounts, maybe that I'm watching here. You know, and the user has the ability to hide things, add different things like that to really create their own role center of the information that's important to them. I even have a live trial balance down here. And then I also have Power BI. You saw that from the beginning. So this is integrated with Power BI. So I can really access the Power BI reports. I can create them, edit them, everything all from inside Business Central, even though it's really an Office program, right? It's not even part of Business Central, but they've integrated it with it. So this is really like a portal to Power BI. So there's an example of one Power BI report. Now think about this, like where I came from, every report basically you could print it to the screen or you can export it to Excel. So if I wanted to see, you know, sales by product line, I would run it, export it to Excel, and wow, that looks great. Wonder what varieties, you know, are under that product line. What were those sales? Well, that's a different report. So now I got to go export to Excel it by variety. And you can imagine pretty soon I had 15 different reports we're looking at, and we literally had rulers and stuff across the lines of the spreadsheets to try to figure out what we were doing. We'll enter Power BI. So this is reading the information from the system. I got sales year to date right here. This is a snapshot that you can pull in here, or, you know, come in here every day and see where am I at, you know, compared to last year. We're at 22.2 million last year at this time. Prior year to date, we're at 25 million. So we're behind a little bit. Same thing with the month. This is sales month to date. Last year, this same month, we're a little bit more, right? You're going to be able to see your sales by customer. These are all different types of visuals, different ways to look at the information. Like this one is a tree diagram with the sales by category. Really, the bigger the shape here, the more the sales. You can see mostly I sell shrubs. This is a screenshot, so I can't really do anything in here, but as you click on these different things, it sorts the entire report. If I clicked on shrubs, it's going to change every single data point on here to just the shrub number. So the moral of the story here is that when you use tools like this, your information is correct. You're going to be proactive, not reactive, right? We used to wait and get the financial at the end of the month and be like, wow, what happened, right? And it was too late. We weren't really able to really see what was happening in real time. Just one other example. This is a nice 4-year, it's a little bit older report, but 4-year sales of items, you know, and this is the type of report you can use to figure out what are we going to grow, right? I have all the different credits for the 4 years, botrytis, you know, freight delayed by airline, everything that we give a credit for, we you know, track it by reason. So I'm reporting on the different reasons we gave money back, right? And so when you're in here, you can click on any of these numbers and it's going to sort all this, so you can immediately figure out, wow, my biggest selling item also is the biggest culprit of credits, right? Maybe you should look at that. It doesn't necessarily mean that your highest selling item is what you're making the most money on, okay? But we all go back to Excel, right? So then you have your dashboard reporting, which is great, but still, especially the accountants and things like that really want those tabular Excel reports. So we got that too. So we have Excel-based reporting through a system called Cosmos. Cosmos was built for Business Central and doing these Excel-based reports. You actually build the reports in Excel. They've already created all of the data sets and everything in there and really named the fields with a friendly name. So, you know, the average power user in Excel can really create these reports on their own. And it's also integrated with Power BI. So this is really the full package. But like I said, you're going to add the different fields and do that and work on it all inside of Excel to come up with these tabular reports. So that's kind of the gist of it. You can kind of see if you start small and at least get everything into one system, as you work through this and grow with the system, you can reap the rewards of all of the data and insights coming from it. All right. I'll turn it
Nice.
back over to Melissa.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. Well, we hope you appreciated our discussion today, how you can leverage technology and turn it into a competitive advantage. We hope you're excited about some of our upcoming topics. We've got an exciting one to announce in March. We're going to be talking about preparing for the future and navigating challenges and adopting technology in the greenhouse. It's actually going to be a panel discussion, both with greenhouse management and one of our clients, Freedom Tree Farms.
That's going to be good.
That's going to be fun. And then in April, we're going to talk about protecting the bottom line. So 3 strategies to improve production efficiency. And then in May, we're going to talk about ditching disconnected systems. So we hope you'll come back. I don't know if we're taking questions right now, so I'll pause. Rain, are we taking questions or are we closing out?
We have a couple good ones, so we're going to take questions.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's do it.
So Dustin asked a really good question. Can you guys back up and tell him a little bit more about what SilverLeaf is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see if you haven't heard of SilverLeaf. So Business Central is the Microsoft ERP system, enterprise resource planning, that means. So that's your business system, you know, the accounting, your shipping, receiving, growing of the plant, sales order, everything. Think of QuickBooks or something, but this is, you know, not QuickBooks. This is a completely different animal. And it already does have all of this functionality out of the box, but you know, what we're doing with SilverLeaf is adding functionality to work better for growers, right? It is a manufacturing system, like you can make widgets and that. We all know that it's a little bit different when you're dealing with live products. So all of those tools I did show, besides the office integration, those are all things that we added to the system of SilverLeaf. So SilverLeaf is the horticulture add-on for Business Central. So that's what we've created, and we're continuing to develop. You know, it's our own product. We're really excited about that, but that's what SilverLeaf is. So Dynamics 365 Business Central, kind of a long name. That is the Microsoft business system. They handle all the development and further progress of that product. And Velosio, we keep up with our SilverLeaf product of continuing to add functionality for horticulture. Hopefully
Awesome.
that answered that.
We've got a couple more good ones. Someone said, would this be the correct level of record keeping for one greenhouse, or a simpler software maybe be better? Does this integrate with QuickBooks? And they also want to know if you offer videos, classes, and tech support for questions.
Awesome. Yes, we do. So the QuickBooks question, that comes up a lot. So I will say that the system really can be as small or as large as we need it to be. Granted, it's for small and medium-sized business, which would be 5 to 10 million to 500 million. You know, it's a pretty wide area there, and it already has accounting. So really, we have had some customers that insisted on integrating with QuickBooks for the beginning, you know, but actually that costs you more money. So it's very user-friendly. So the answer is yes, a small grower could use this, and you're paying us to help set it up and train you, right? But otherwise you're just paying per seat. You know, this is all in the cloud, so you're paying so much per user. So we have customers that have 2 users, right? So you're only paying for those 2 seats. And Melissa, maybe you can say something about support and all of that stuff, classes, videos, and that.
So there are a lot of videos, you know, available online and also within the application. As you're using the application, you have questions. I think the other question she asked too was related to record keeping. So certainly that's just a conversation we'd want to have related to what records are important for you to track, because we can certainly attach and keep documents in the system. We can also set up SharePoint, and so we're maintaining documents in SharePoint and linking it to the system. And then ongoing support, certainly we've got a team that's focused on ongoing support once you're live, to really be there to answer any questions that you have through implementation and beyond. So Rain, hopefully that hit all of the points that
was a good question.
that person wanted to know.
Yeah, we have a couple more about this being suitable for a small grower. So I took those names down, and we'll follow up with you guys. I think that maybe we can continue this conversation post if you guys have some questions about maybe your greenhouse size and if this solution works for you. But I wanted to pop on here and say thank you so much for joining us today. The session was recorded, like I mentioned at the beginning, and will be sent to you this afternoon, and we will be following up. But thanks again, and reach out to us at email is insider@velosio.com, not our website. Send us an email at, I'll say it again, insider@velosio.com. So thanks again. I'm going to close this out.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.